Fan Stream Sports.
3, 2, 1. Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Fan Stream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into Election Day. Oh, guess we're not talking any politics here today. Maybe a skosh, but mostly no. We got too much other stuff to talk about today. The USF coaching search is in high gear. Thanks to what may be my most expansive tweet in history. Now, I think breaking the Brady story may have been a little bit more, but a lot of people interested in John Gruden possibly going to USF. So we're going to get into that. Todd Bowles spoke yesterday, another perplexing news conference of sorts. So we'll get into the Buccaneers as well. And this just in, their trip to Germany now may be changed a little bit with this approaching tropical storm and hurricane. The Buccaneers were set to leave on Thursday after practice, but now this hurricane/tropical storm, by the time it gets here, it's probably going to be just a lot of wind and rain, but who knows, right? Who knows? So the Bucs are probably researching contingencies right now to have to leave early and change their entire schedule for the week, which is going to be really tough to do because everything is set in stone. These are international flights. There's a lot of moving parts to this. So, just this season that just could not go smoothly continues to continue like an airplane through a hurricane, right? It's a bumpy ride. It's been a bumpy ride since probably week 3. Week 1 and 2 weren't too bad, but week 3, it's been a bumpy ride for the Bucs. So we'll get to that a little bit. Strange happenings all over the NFL. Saturday gets the Colts coaching job in a bizarre Jim Irsay press conference. We'll definitely be getting into that. We'll be talking some college football from around the state. TJ Reed's going to join us at 11:40. Today, so we'll talk to the Bucs sideline guy. He'll be going to Germany, so we'll look forward to chatting with him and the things that are planned for the Opera House in Munich. And also Scott Reynolds will join us. It's Tuesday, not Thursday. And Scott Reynolds will join us at 10:30 to talk Buccaneers. So I say good morning to you, Nick Geddes. Lots to get to. I know there's a lot of firestorm on Twitter regarding John Gruden. At least this USF job is getting a lot of pub. That's for sure. It was trending on Twitter last night.
Yeah, good morning to you. And it's not surprising. I mean, for all we know, USF could be putting this out there to gauge the interest of the fan base, and clearly there is a lot of people against it. You said you thought it was more like 65, 35. I thought it was more 90-10, to be honest with you.
Negative?
I thought it was very negative, honestly.
I was trying to be a little bit gracious.
Yeah. I thought it was very negative, but I mean, if USF was looking at least to get themselves trending yesterday and to get a spotlight on the program, I saw a lot of people more prominent college football writers who were actually talking about USF yesterday because of these groomers, if you will. You saw the Booger McFarland tweet, right?
Yeah, I read that.
So there you go.
And Booger, saying that this is a very good job. Which is weird because it hasn't been, right? It hasn't been you could. And I said I retweeted Booger's tweet and said, there is something different going on now. And it's hard for me to sit here and say, Michael Kelly's, I think, going to take this program to new heights because his main, some of his main first choices have not worked out very well. He hired Jeff Scott. So that did not work out. Famously, that was a huge bust. And I think we all looked at the hire and it seemed to check every single box. And along the way, Jeff Scott certainly, showed that he was going to work his ass off. He was everything we thought he would be, except a good football coach. He just couldn't win on the field. And that's why these college football jobs are so incredibly complex. They're incredibly complex. It's not easy to do. That's why I to take a chance on a guy that has not been a head coach, I would rather hire a guy that has been a head coach at lower levels than to say an assistant at a bigger program. because I need to see if you can lead a program. I need to see if you can lead a team to winning. There's so much that goes into winning in football, and especially in college football. I think it's even more complex than the NFL, because the NFL, the talent acquisition process is very consistent. You scout your players, you draft them, and then you bring them in. In college football, they pick you. So it's a much different thing. Recruiting and drafting are two totally different things. Recruiting, you have to woo these young players, right? There's so much that goes into that. I mean, you're not whining and dining NFL players, right? You don't have to go out there and impress them to pick you. It's a business. You get to select them. College is completely different. And that part of the college equation is absolutely the most important part of winning. And that's talent acquisition at the highest level. If you look at all the national champions for the last 20, 25 years, every one of them have been ranked in the top 5 in recruiting the previous 4 years consistently. And that's something that is absolutely a must if you're going to win a national championship. Now, you can be successful at college and win a lot of games, but if you're talking about that at the highest level, you've got to be a great recruiter, and you've got to have a great recruiting process. So that's a totally different which you have to deal with in the NFL. So when you're talking about John Gruden, this is part of the business that he really has not, as a head coach, certainly dabbled in. So it's a totally different deal. And yes, when I put that out yesterday, and I've had a lot of conversations subsequent to that with my sources at USF, and I can tell you once again, as I said yesterday, John Gruden is interested in the job, very interested in the job, so much so that he's taking steps in order to get the official interview. I can tell you that. So he's actively taking steps towards getting those interviews and meeting with the people at USF. Those meetings have not happened yet, but they are imminent. So, and I know the boosters are out there, a lot of them. Fred Meyer is one of them that sits courtside with John Gruden, and John has been to almost every USF basketball game for the past year. I've been told that John has considered donating money to USF so much because he's so involved with those alumni. Plays golf with them at Avila. It's this is where all these things go down. So if you think that John Gruden isn't interested in this job, if you're on the fence about that, you're wrong. He's interested in the job. He's very interested in the job. That is 100% true. We are reporting that. If you'd like to accept that, other reporters, whatever, we are reporting it, and I can prove it 10 ways to Sunday. So I've been doing this a long time, folks. This is absolutely true. John Gruden is interested in the USF job. Is he going to take it? What are the parameters? Is he even going to be offered the job? Because he has not been. That's another. There was a report out there yesterday, and I don't talk in riddles, folks. Zach Blobner, a friend of mine over at 620, put out a tweet that the job was John Gruden's if he wanted it. And that is certainly not my understanding. And I've talked to some very well-placed sources. That is not my understanding. He has not been vetted at all, has not even met with Michael Kelly yet. So I don't know how you can say the job is his if he hasn't even met with the athletic director yet. I mean, are there powerful boosters that want John Gruden and would write the check? Absolutely. 100%. Yes, but that's way different than him getting the decision or being offered the job if he wants it. So that, and to, honestly, to my friend Zach, that may not have been what he meant, but that is what he tweeted out. And John Gruden has not been fully vetted by USF. He has not met with Michael Kelly, not met with the new president, Rhea Law. So, and they have not even decided who they're going to offer the job to. So that is completely untrue. It's untrue. So there's going to be a process. It's going to be a long process, relatively, to vet John Gruden. I think it will happen within this week. And I think this process of putting his name out there and John Gruden being interested in the job was a great trial balloon, if you will, for USF to see what the public reaction is going to be. And as you said, Nick, 90% of it, at least on my tweet, was negative. And I would say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I could tell, the hardcore USF fans, I think, were maybe 60-40 negative. I'd see more outsiders, more national people, more people that are more clued into the way John left, the Raiders and the racist emails, the homophobic emails, those things that were out there. Not to say that he is racist or homophobic. That's for you guys to decide. Those things where most of those people sit were the negative. I think most of the negativity was coming from. Would you agree with that? Maybe it was more from that side of it than it is whether he would be a good football coach at USF.
Yeah, and I mean, again, there's plenty of good reasoning to back that up, by the way.
Yes,
there
absolutely.
is.
100%. 100%.
But there were also some people, I mean, again, they were few and far between who were trying to keep it within the football lines.
Right. And
a lot of people were like, hasn't had a winning season since 2008. What's the point? And I think that's a fair thing. And I think that's what I've done. It's like, I am by no means downplaying the off the field stuff because in my opinion, that's the biggest reason why I wouldn't go near him. If I was running, and I'm not paid to make those decisions, don't get me wrong, but I just think it's a nightmare from a PR standpoint. I think from a moral standpoint, especially for a program that prides itself on having good morals, it's going to put those into question. You are going to have fans who are going to turn a little bit on that. It's going to happen. There's going to be blowback or pushback to it rather. But just looking at on the field, and we outlined some of those issues yesterday, I just can't see how it works. I can't see how a guy who doesn't have patience for really anything, honestly, is going to start having patience for 18 to 21-year-old kids. And the successful quarterbacks he's had, we said yesterday, was Brad Johnson and who am I missing?
Rich Gannon.
Yeah,
Jeff Garcia.
Derek Carr to an extent, I guess, but it was a short time. Veteran quarterbacks, though.
Yes.
And you're going to tell me that an 18, 19, 20-year-old, he's going to have patience for that? And he's never developed a quarterback before. You got to deal with NIL.
X34, ZY, banana 47 shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which that play call probably hasn't been called in probably a decade. Probably around football.
Banana. No, look, I worked with John Gruden for a long time while he was with the Buccaneers. When I was at Channel 8, we did one-on-ones every week. And I watched this. I watched him win Super Bowl and come in and be dynamic and incredible and charismatic. And then I also watched him push Rich McKay out the door. And I watched the entire thing disintegrate. And he tried to be the general manager, wanted to have all the say over personnel and coach the team and all that. It just did not work out. It did not work out. And this, to some degree, the same thing happened in Oakland.
There's also a good point here. I saw somebody point this out on Twitter. I can't remember who it was. This is also, for now, Raymond James Stadium is the home for USF.
Yeah.
So you mean to tell me they're going to hire the guy whose name was ripped right off that stadium? I know that it's a little bit different, but at the same token, really?
Yeah, I get that. That has more, it's an awkward juxtaposition, to be sure. But, was that the NFL telling the Bucs, look, you better rip that thing down? Was everybody in the organization down with having to rip his name off?
It's just the optics part of it is just, it's hard to get it's hard to wrap your head around it.
Yeah. And we're going to, on election day, we're going to get into all the political correctness that goes into things like that. I mean, look, those emails are horrific. They're horrific. And I don't want to get into all of the, the machinations of how they came out. The bottom line is what is going to be the public perception of it. And the public perception of it is they're horrific. And you can't hire a guy that wrote those emails. I get that, but there's also, part of this is this business, especially in football. There's a time you put in your penance, and people forgive, people forget, and you got to give a guy another chance. And I think for John Gruden, that'll probably, if he shows the right humility and more than anything else, just like show the people that you really believe that was wrong and you're not that type of person.
But here's the thing. I don't think anybody believes them. The whole I keep going back. I know it's resurfaced now in the last couple of days. That whole thing that he did at that Arkansas touchdown club, and we played the audio here.
It was bad.
When you
didn't show any contrition.
when you run behind the religion, for me, that's what gets me. It's like you put that in front as like a barrier almost. And that's kind of how it felt like he did. I'm a man I go to church every Sunday. I feel like I'm a good person. Like that stuff I think everybody sees right through that. And I think it's hard to take him as genuine because your actions have said otherwise.
Yes.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, and you hear that from a lot of his former players, but a lot of his former players support him as well. So it's kind of a mixed bag. But the bottom line for me is, what kind of college coach would he make? What kind of college coach would he make? And I just, what unless he's changed his coaching approach dramatically, he could not suffer rookies, the rookie quarterbacks, young players. It was very tough for him. You're going to be dealing with 18, very entitled 18-year-old kids that you got to go kiss their ass and recruit them, and you got to do that like 24/7 almost. And then you got to deal with the boosters. And you got to deal with all this. Here's a book this thick of the rules of things you can and cannot do. You can only have your players for 20 hours a week. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of things that John has never really done as a head coach and are expected to do. And again, where is the proof that he is a team builder, a program builder?
It's not there.
Yeah, but can he do it? Sure. Does he bring a big name? Absolutely. Is he going to bring a lot of big money? Yeah, absolutely. All that stuff is needed.
Speaking of money, though, what are you paying him to do this job?
That's another thing.
Because my thought process here is whatever number you're going to pay him, and I'm sure it's going to be a large amount of money, right?
Is it?
He ain't doing it for cheap, I don't think.
Well, he doesn't need the money.
No, he doesn't. But
John doesn't need the money. He needs to coach football.
Maybe not, but the market's the market, right?
Yeah, but he's not. If USF,
if they're going though to spend a lot of money on John Gruden, if that's their plan, in my opinion, it's best to take that money and go spend it on a real college coach. And I'm not talking about the guy for the Willie Simmons from FAMU. Okay, I think that's probably too big of a risk at this juncture for USF, in my opinion, to try to go there. I think they do want somebody with name cachet, but can we get somebody with some experience, college coaching? And not a guy who's coached, 3.5 seasons, basically, in the last 15 years? I mean, think about that. He hasn't done a lot of coaching in 15 years.
He has not.
And we have plenty of examples of those guys falling flat on their face. Example, Herm Edwards.
Yeah.
That crumbled real quickly at Arizona State for a guy who
started well.
Yeah, a little bit. And it probably would start well with Gruden, too. But eventually, as it's always happened in his career, it sours. There's always a bad ending with John Gruden. It's just the way it is. Maybe in his control or out of his control, there's always a sour ending. So I can't see it. I still can't see it.
For what the job demands, especially in this day and age, I think Scott Frost would be a much better pick. Matt Rule would be a much better pick.
He ain't coming here.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think you got to find a guy who doesn't have Power 5 options. And, Dan Mullen does. I think Scott Frost, after failing at a Power 5 and his home
I like
school,
that name.
What?
Dan Mullen.
But again, I think he'll get a Power 5 job. I think one that comes open, although
it doesn't always happen that way, though.
His star is tarnished because it's almost de facto now that he doesn't like to recruit, and he's not a great recruiter.
Well, he's not good at recruiting at Florida. Right, but we're not asking him to come at USF and recruit like in Florida standards by any means. I think
5 stars.
Yeah, like he did really well at Mississippi State and found a lot of gold gems there. Yep, I mean, I don't like how people always act now like Dan Mullen can't coach. I mean, he was winning 8-9 games with Mississippi State in the SEC.
But he got fired at Florida because they didn't think he was committed to recruiting at the highest level.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with Gus Malzahn. But guess what? Gus Malzahn won all those games at Auburn. Went to a national championship, and he couldn't get a Power 5 opportunity. He had to go to the AAC.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what happens. Usually when you fail or if it ends poorly at one of those big schools, you have to kind of fall back a little bit. So I think Dan Mullen is an interesting name. I don't know if anybody's thrown it out there at all, but he's obviously available right now. He's had a year off from coaching.
Mm-hmm.
He steps into the AAC. How many coaches in that conference are better than Dan Mullen?
None.
Put it that way.
Not a lot.
Not a lot. I mean, even though he didn't recruit that well at Florida, I have to assume that he has some contacts in this area at least.
Yeah.
I mean, anything, right?
Yeah. I mean, Dan Mullen, I think Dan Mullen would be a better choice than John Gruden because the fact that he has been a head coach. And everybody that loves Gruden is like, okay, why? Well, he won the Super Bowl. That's 2002 in the NFL. In the NFL with a team that was built by someone else.
Did the Jaguars say that about Urban Meyer? He won all those national championships?
It's a different deal. It's a completely different deal. And, I think, John is – does he know football? Oh, my God. He knows more football than anybody. But translating that knowledge to an 18 and 19-year-old quarterback and doing all those things that it takes to bring it together. Can he do it? Is he dynamic? Oh my God, he's unbelievably charismatic. When you're in a room with Gruden, just has a presence. I mean, he has a freaking presence. He's a star. He's a star. And does USF need star power? Oh my God. Do they need to be relevant again? Oh yes. Would John Gruden do that? Absolutely. But you still got to go out and recruit and win football games, do it in the right way. And, this is a university setting. This is not a professional setting where it's kind of winning is all that it's about. In college, there are more things to it, right? You got to please the alumni. You got to please the academic staff. There's a lot more politics to it. And I wouldn't say, John Gruden would be the best political, person to hobnob with. That's just part of it, man. That's part of the job. And, I think John would be a much better NFL coach. I just think he'd be better in that situation. College, I just don't think it's a great fit. I don't think it's a great fit. Now, if he gets the gig, it's going to be a lot of fanfare. There's going to be a lot of attention, and that's what you need on this program. And that's a huge part of it. And recruiting, I think, Iran would really go pretty well. But that's, you got to keep at it. You got to keep at it. You got to keep filling those spots. Transfer portal. Would quarterbacks want to come play for John
He'd probably
Gruden?
make a living out of that portal, by the way.
Yeah, he would, because that's what he was all about. But that's hard. The portal is, the guys are in the portal for a reason. They're in the portal for a reason. And either they're disenchanted, they're not good enough to make their team. There's reasons that guys are in the portal, and there's some good ones, but there's more bad ones than good ones. Like NFL free agency. Most of those guys are in free agency for a reason, because they weren't good fits for their team. So that's a tough way to make a living in college football. You got the best players. Most of the time, the best players are the ones that you recruit. So,
I don't know. Regardless if it's Gruden, if it's not Gruden, I think that, again, we have this, sometimes we get this kind of small market mentality in Tampa Bay. We've talked about that a lot. I mean, and USF maybe is kind of a product of that kind of mentality, because we look at the lack of success they've had, but this is still a hotbed for, we've talked about it, for high school football players. And what's got to end is the Clemsons and the Alabamas and all these other programs rating this city of its talent. It's got to stop. And this goes for all the schools, honestly, in Florida, but especially USF if they want to get back to relevance. You have to put almost a barrier of sense around here, preferably. Can they do that?
Well,
highly unlikely, but you have to do something.
I always hear people use that euphemism. You got to put a fence around it. You're USF. With Nick Saban helicopters in, you can't block them.
That's why I said it's highly unlikely.
Iron shield of Patriot missiles.
But you still have to do better. You still have to do better recruiting your own territory.
You do. And I understand what you're saying, but I always it's so easy. Let's just put up a fence. We'll put up a wall.
I mean, Gus Malzahn's doing it at
Sorry,
UCF,
Mr. Saban. Sorry, Mr. Saban, you can't. No, but your point is you got to get relationships with these local high school coaches where they're just not. And let's be honest.
Because right now, because I'm not that too far away from high school, Durant had, at the time that I was there, had some pretty good players, and like a lot of them got off. A lot of them were offered by USF, and they said, "Nah, I'm going to go to Western Kentucky. Nah, I'm going to go to Georgia Southern." How does that happen?
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's the stuff that has to
stop. When you're losing kids, that you want to Georgia Southern and Western Kentucky, that's a problem of that's a relationship problem.
Yeah, I think that's probably my point that I'll make. I know that the big ones are going to come in and get your 5 stars. I got that. But it's the ones that are even like 3 stars. A good example is like Rocco Becht, for example, Anthony Becht's kid. What's the reason why that I don't understand. You probably know more than I do, but how does he end up at Iowa State? Is USF even in on that? Are they pushing hard for it or anything for a quarterback, a 3-star quarterback, 4-star quarterback, whatever? There you go. They're not active there.
No.
And that's been going on for a long time.
No, it's a problem. They have not built the relationships, necessary relationships. And, you could do the ancillary. Oh, we stopped by there. No, I'm talking about that head coach, and you need to be texting every other day. You need to have relationships with these coaches where they're not just coaches, they're friends. And it's going to be, and if you have a good player there, it's going to be, if he goes somewhere else, they're going to be doing it. It's going to be a personal affront. It's going to be, dude, we're buddies, and you're letting this kid go to my rival. Like, there's going to have to be some real consternation involved for a head coach to not push that player to your school. That's just the way it should be. But again, it's hard to, when Nick Saban comes into town, what are these coaches going to do? They're going to kowtow and bow down to him, as they should, because they, if their kid goes to Alabama, that's what's best for the kid. So it's not as easy as just, but there's got to be a concerted effort, really, those relationships here locally, and you've got a ton of talent here. Like Booger said, this is a talent-rich environment. You've got to recruit these 3 stars and keep them at home. Keep all the 3 stars or a majority of them at home at USF. You're going to build your fan base, number one, and number two, you're going to be a really good football team.
And you got to steal a 4-star here and there, okay? And I think it's doable, because when I said that barrier thing, I'm basically copying what Gus Malzahn said when he took over at UCF, which I think, again, is a similar situation. There's a lot of talent in Orlando. A lot of big schools come in, and he said we want to put a barrier. They're gobbling up all the 3 stars in that area, okay? But they're also taking a couple 4 stars here and there. That's what they've been doing, and that's why they're having successful recruiting classes. I think why can't USF do the same thing?
They should.
They should be able to.
Absolutely.
I mean, for God's sakes, get inside the top 50 in recruiting. Can I ask for that at some point?
Well, and
in Tampa?
And part of it is UCF is a big deal in Orlando. USF is not really a big deal in Tampa because of in terms of the Rays. I mean, where are you if you're USF in the pecking order? In the sports pecking order in terms of interest of fans? Bucs, Lightning, Rays. What's fourth?
Are the Rowdies more of a priority to USF?
Well, I would say, when I get to 3 and 4, I would say the FSU, UF,
for sure.
Miami collective. I mean, I think there's more interest in those 2 or 3 schools 100%. Than USF. So yeah, you're just down the list. Where UCF, I would say, well, you would know better in the Orlando hierarchy, sports hierarchy. Where do they rank?
It's ahead of them. It's ahead of the Magic.
Okay,
and it's number one.
It's ahead of Orlando. It's number one.
It's number one.
That's my point.
Yeah.
So if you go to high school in Orlando, UCF is a big deal. It's a big deal. You go to high school in Tampa, it's not a big deal. Like, you're more in tune to FSU, Florida, Alabama, Georgia, especially if you're a top football player. Like, USF is an afterthought. That has to change. But you know how that changes? Winning.
That's the problem. You don't.
And but how are you going to win if you don't get the players?
Yeah.
It's
the problem. They don't win. They just don't win right now. So you're not creating new fans. And we've talked about this. I thought maybe the newer generation that's from Tampa, maybe they say, okay, USF's my hometown team. I'm going to be a fan of that team like everybody else is when they're born somewhere, right? But if you're not winning games, people just aren't going to care.
Right.
They're not going to happen. And what's going to happen is they're just going to be like, okay, I'm just going to be an FSU fan, or I'm just going to be a Florida fan or a Miami fan. That's the mentality that keeps going on.
You go back to what put UCF on the map. Of course, you go back to George. What the hell was his name? The guy that coached at Georgia Tech. That was at UCF. That got him to the Fiesta Bowl the first time.
George O'Leary.
That was their first kind of foray into being in the top 25. And what did they do? They went out and hired an old, grizzled, really, really good football coach, as clunky as he was. And they won football because he developed players. He got good players and then developed them, and he could win on the field. And he beat up on a lot of bad teams, but he got the name out there, right? And then there was this kind of a slump. And then when Frost came along, what was his formula? He recruited some good players, but made them really great players. And you go back to that team. Was it the 13th team? 2018? 2017. You go back to that team and look at how many NFL players were on that team, right?
Yeah.
There was a handful, probably 5 or 6 that made it to the league, right?
Yeah, a couple first-round picks.
Yeah. So there was some talent there. But he developed that talent. You got to go find those guys, and then you got to go in. And that, and then you got to ask yourself, is John Gruden kind of in that mold? Could he do it? I think he could. Absolutely bring a lot of energy to it. But he's going to have to change a lot of things that he's done in the past in order to be successful at that. And I know this. He's highly motivated. The guy just eats and sleeps ball. That's all to it. He would admit it, but it's a different type of job. Just a different type of job. So we'll see where USF goes with that. All right. Tom Brady last night on his podcast had some interesting comments. Do we have that? Let's tell you what, we'll take a break. We're going to come back on the other side. We'll take a break, and then we're going to get into the Tom Brady podcast because I thought it was very illuminating, some of the things he said So we'll get into that. We got the Lightning tonight. Connor McDavid, boy, what a goal he scored last night. Oh, my. I'm sure they're looking at the tape of that over at the Lightning offices this morning. So we'll talk some Bolts as well with Connor McDavid and the Oilers in town. Stay with us. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. I've known Scott Jeeves for quite some time, and he's just like us, a huge college football fan. He loves his Gators. In fact, he sponsors our Gator Report every Thursday at 11 o'clock with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. But he's not just another PI attorney. He is a ferocious advocate for his clients. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in Tampa Bay for over 30 years. He is an AV preeminent rated civil trial lawyer and certified circuit court mediator. Folks, these designations are not just given out. They're given only to the best trial attorneys. But more than anything, Scott takes these cases personally. I've heard it from his clients. He's a fighter you want on your side. Insurance companies hate it when they see you're represented by Jeeves. He's just different. 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell him JP sent you.
Guys, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling.
Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by Emerging Investigations, emerginginv.com. If you need a private investigation agency, they are the best in the Tampa Bay area, so check them out, emerginginv.com. Also, the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES, JeevesLawGroup.com. All right, I want to bring in our good friend Scott Reynolds from the Pewter Report. Victory Tuesday, I guess.
Yeah.
After this dry spell, man, let's celebrate it all we want. But Scotty, good morning to you. And I guess, after, well, I'm sure while watching the game and then after reviewing the tape, a win's a win. It's great to get it, but I don't think anybody's jumping up and down, and certainly not Tom Brady, as he really strongly questioned the effort of his team on his podcast. We'll get to that. But first, your impressions of what you saw on Sunday in the big one.
Much improved play by the Bucs defense. I think that has to really make Todd Bowles happy. I mean, if you take away that one busted coverage, the 69-yard touchdown to Cooper Kupp. I think you're looking at 137 yards holding the Rams, 237 yards. That's pretty good. And to keep in mind, there's a little bit of an asterisk, right? Because Andrew Whitworth is not there. OBJ is not there. Robert Woods is not there. This is a team, I think you've said before, heavy is the head that wears the crown, right?
Yep.
That is in Super Bowl hangover mode. Von Miller's not there. And they're struggling. But at the same time, so were the Bucs. This was kind of an evenly matched game. The scoreboard says it was evenly matched. It was all Rams up until about 9 seconds. So I think the takeaway from this, if you're Todd Bowles, is you have to be happy with how the Bucs defense played. Hat tip to Devin White. I didn't see any mental gaffes or mistakes that he made. I haven't watched the film yet, but I'm going to today. But I thought he played under control. But really, Carlton Davis, I mean, what a fantastic effort tackling on the perimeter.
Yes.
Todd Bowles finally solved the Rams. He solved the Saints. Now he's solved the Rams. This might be a season, JP and Nick, where this team might end up 7-10, and it still might be underwhelming and not meeting expectations. But at least he's beat the Saints and beat the Rams. A couple of feathers in his cap. We'll see how this season plays out. But so far, so good on ending a couple of those dubious streaks.
Yes, that was good. All right, I want to play this soundbite from Tom Brady last night, and it was shocking when I heard it. Not surprised because we've watched the tape, but come out of his mouth. Here it is.
There's only so deep of a hole that you can dig. And, if you dig yourself too deep a hole, you got no shot coming out of it. The best teams start playing well around Thanksgiving. That's because you've basically figured out what you are and what you need to do. And there's definitely some things we do well. There's a lot of things we don't do well. And I think too much of good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad leaves you average. And no one's trying to be average. If you want to be a great team, you got to be way better than average. So correcting our mistakes, improving our effort, which that's probably the most embarrassing part of our team is our effort level on game day. And that's something we better fix.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I wish he'd say that at our press conferences and not just on his well-sponsored podcast.
Yes.
That's what he gets paid to do, give you the good
Right.
stuff, right? So your reaction to that?
Well, I think the good thing is the lack of effort has been team wide. I don't think he's singling out one side of the ball or the other. I don't think he's singling out one player or another. I think that there has been a little bit of a malaise that has set in. And I think for the younger players in this team, and when I mean younger players that have been here since Bruce Arians came in 2019, right? 7-9, 11-5, win the Super Bowl. Tom's here, 13-4. Probably if you get past the Rams, win a second Super Bowl. And I think that there's some of this kind of inherited entitlement from we're the Buccaneers and we're supposed to be good. We're supposed to show up in the field and win. And this league is designed for that not to happen because of the any given Sunday in a very apropos saying at that. You've sensed it, right? You see it. We've talked about it from a defensive side, which is the side of the ball that I prefer because I don't like the offense. So I focus on the defense.
I haven't liked the offense all year, but
but just the second half, the effort in the second half of those games has not been good. And then again, it's the effort on offense. At times it's been receivers running kind of lazy routes, right? And I think that's why Tom kind of chose to say what he said was, I don't mind drop passes, right? I don't like when guys don't get open because that's an effort thing.
Right.
You can get open, right? You like any receiver should be able to get a step on any defender unless you're being covered by like one of the all-time greats like a Deion Sanders or a Sauce Gardner in this day and age who's playing lights out football. Because why? You know the play. The defense doesn't know the play. You have the ability at the NFL level to create some separation, right? Like you're at that level, you're going up against another NFL player. You know where the route is going to go. The defender does not. And you should have the technique from the coaching to at least at some point in that route give you a half a step to somewhat get open.
Yeah.
So I think that's what Brady is saying by the lack of effort. There's at times guys not getting open for him. There were times where the offensive line just decides to take a play off, here or there, and he's right to call it out, I just think that this team has been entitled this year, and I think they've dug themselves into a hole that they don't want to be in, and I think they were a little scared going into this game, like what's going to happen if we lose, rather than let's go out and win.
Scott Reynolds joining us here from the Pewter Report. Here's another interesting thing. I was watching the replay of the game on TV, and coming back from halftime, Tracy Wolfson reported a couple of things that we did talk about. But she reported that Todd Bowles said to her that we need to run the ball more.
Mm-hmm.
We need to run the ball. We need to run the ball more. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, you can't. You're terrible at running the football here. And it occurred to me as like everybody wants to get on Byron Leftwich, and I'm not saying he's doing a great job, but this running the football and as poorly as they're running it, this is what Byron do. And so, I mean, this is it begins and ends at the head coach, right? So a lot of this ridiculous running of the football, and I'm all for balance. I get that, but you got to find ways, to run the football that's more creative than what you're doing. And you're so predictable. There are tells all over the field. You could just tell by, this when you watch the tape. Watch how quickly the safeties come up. Watch how quickly the linebackers react to run plays. They know exactly. There's too many tells out there.
Right.
And coaching staff.
And I think that's where the frustration is for Todd Bowles, is because he sees teams like Kansas City run the hell out of the football, keep the time of possession on their side, create a bunch of plays, right, by doing that, and just basically wear down his defense. So he's being a little selfish, and I understand it, because he's like, well, winning a game takes us holding other teams to not many points, and it takes us scoring more points than we're holding them to not many points. And so I think he's looking at it from his side of the ball, like, hey, if we want to try to win this game, we have to control the clock and control the possessions. And I think, right or wrong, the Buccaneers had 79 plays to the Rams 55. And that's like an exact opposite of what happened in the Baltimore game. Baltimore had close to 80 plays. The Bucs had 50 some plays in that game. So I understand it from sometimes runs are necessary, just because it literally churns 30 seconds off the clock, and actually about 45 seconds. Yeah. Because you have the 30 second play clock, then you have the actual play itself.
Right. And
sometimes the defense just needs that. Yep. When you go 3 and out and you pass, let's say you run it once and pass the ball twice, it stops the clock. I mean, the defense is literally grabbing their helmets in 3 minutes and getting back out on the field. Yeah. Right. And maybe they've been on the field for 7 minutes on some, arduous clock chewing drive, and all of a sudden they're forced to go back out there after a 3-minute break. Mm-hmm. So I understand his logic for doing it, but it's flawed because this team's not good at doing it. And I think where the bristling might be happening is, hey, find a effing way to figure it out. Yeah, exactly. Like, run the ball. I don't care how you do it, but do it, and do it effectively. And honestly, I don't have a problem with Todd Bowles thinking that way, because his coaches at the NFL level should be smart enough to figure out, hey, on this 8-play drive we're going on, can you find like 3 runs that work? You can throw it 5 times, but give us 3 runs, please. Just
that work.
Yeah, and that work. So I don't mind him putting the onus on that, because essentially what you're saying is every time you drop back to pass, you're telling your offensive line, don't hold, don't false start, and don't get a hands to face, and don't give up a sack.
Yeah.
So it's like you're putting all that on your offensive lineman. If you ask the offensive lineman, do you want to run block or do you want to pass block? Most of them will say, I want to run block.
Yeah, of course.
The problem is from a scheme standpoint, and you're right, JP, there are plenty of tells that just tip off. When Josh Wells is in the game, pretty much going to run the football. And honestly, I like when they have Keith and Josh Wells in the game and they run play action and pass the ball. Yeah. That's what they should be doing.
Absolutely.
They really should. And then when you're in 4 wide sets, run the ball.
That play at the goal line, I can't get off this play at the goal line. The third and the long 2. You got two high safeties who are literally like probably 5 yards off the ball.
Yeah.
You got 9 guys compressed into.
You're talking about in the first quarter?
First quarter, first drive, great drive. Brady goes down the field, really confident. They win a little no huddle within it.
Right.
You know, they look beautiful going down the field. They get to that third too, and Brady's hot, right? The receivers are hot. You know, the defensive backs are kind of on their toes.
Yep.
So you line up in two tight end formation.
I loved it.
And everybody, you know, and are you kidding me?
I loved it.
But you love that play call?
Well, yeah, because that's what set up the game-winning touchdown. That's the genius of Byron Leftwich, JP. Did you miss that? He's setting up the game-winning touchdown in the fourth quarter by running the ball stupidly on 3rd and goal from the 2 up the middle. You didn't catch that?
We had this discussion after the game.
Yeah, we did.
That's the only way. And guess what? The Rams took the bait.
They did. It worked. It worked because there were some Rams defenders going like, these stupid MRFers, they're actually going to run the football here. They're actually going to do it. This is like Shades of Seattle when it's like, you should have given Marshawn the ball. They're going to give it to Lenny up the middle. They're actually going to do it. And so they sucked in, and Cade Otton, you know, Cade Otton ran a great route. He kind of blocked, shoved his guy. You know, wheeled it out there, Tom on the money, and boy, just a fantastic play. Called by Tom Brady, not by Byron Leftwich, by the way. But
exactly. But so, by the way, they were in shotgun there, he was under center on this 3rd and 2 to make it even more predictable.
Yep.
But how do you I want to hear him. I want to hear Todd Bowles or Byron Leftwich. We're not going to be able to talk to him on Thursday because they'll be on a plane. Just tell me what's the rationale? Because you think you can push your offense, your undersized interior offensive line is going to get the push for 3 yards essentially.
Yeah, they've tried it enough to where they actually believe that they can do it, even though it hasn't worked. But I mean, they keep doing it. So I mean, at some point in time, you know, there's 2 schools of thought, right? There's attacking a team's weakness and playing to your strength, right? Go back to the Ravens game. I don't fault Greg Roman at all for in the first half saying, you know, we're going to throw the ball because they're missing, you know, Winfield and Davis and Sean Murphy-Bunting. Their secondary is hurt and banged up.
Right.
So Lamar comes out and attacks their weakness, throws the ball 30 times. It ultimately doesn't work. They ran the ball 7 times. Okay.
Yeah.
And they had 3 points to show for it. And at halftime, Greg Roman says, you know what, we're going to stop trying to attack their weakness and just play to our strength.
Play to our strengths.
Yeah.
Right.
The problem is the running game is not the Bucs' strength. So stop playing to your supposed strength that isn't there.
Right.
Which is the jumbo packages, the double tight end sets, the 13 personnel, the heavy where you're bringing in the offensive linemen. Just stop it and just spread teams out. Because, again, the problem, and I don't know why Byron Leftwich doesn't understand this. I'm not an offensive guy. I'm a defensive guy. But I understand this. If you have 13 jumbo personnel in there, and what that means is 3 tight ends, 1 running back, and jumbo, meaning that 5th eligible target is an offensive lineman. Okay.
Right.
So when you're a 13 jumbo, if Brady doesn't like the look, right? If he knows based upon his pre-snap read, they got the personnel in to stop it, and they're going to slant this way, which is the way they're going to try to run the ball. He can't audible into anything worth a damn unless it's throwing to O'Keefe or Leonard Fournette out of the backfield or whatever. It's not good. But when you are in, say, 3 wide receivers with Cade Otton, right? That's your 4 wide. You're spread out.
Right.
You have a lighter box to run into. And if Tom Brady wants to check out of the run because maybe they're not committing to the pass, maybe they're singling up, then Tom Brady has an option and say, oh, okay, you're going to bring that nickel corner in like you're going to blitz me and you're bringing the safety down. So I have a one-on-one. I'm going to find which one-on-one I like better based upon your personnel. Mike in your star corner, probably not. Chris in the slot against your nickel, maybe, right? Julio Jones against your other starting corner, maybe. Yeah. Cade Otton against your linebacker in the slot, yeah, maybe I'll take that. It's just so much more of a favorable matchup for Tom Brady. So I don't like if these tight ends could block, I'd say yes. Exactly. O'Keefe got his ass handed to him multiple times in that game.
He's 240 pounds. I mean, of course he did. I mean, and Cade, God bless Cade, he's just not a great blocker yet. But it's almost like Byron is calling these running plays like he still has Marpet, Jensen, and Kappa. It's like, hello.
That's right.
Hello. No, you don't. Different guys up there.
I know.
Stuff that worked last year with the jumbo and the big push up the middle. Not same guys. Get him a roster. Just get him a roster, maybe a depth chart. Like, what do you do? Like, it's not going to work.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't. And it finally took them. I mean, I remember like asking Byron in a press conference, and I'm not taking credit for this, but I will take credit for asking the question at least. I said, Byron, have you considered, with all the problems you've had on third and short situations, maybe spreading the team out, running against a lighter box? And against the Ravens, they did, and they picked up 2 first downs in that situation. And it's not hard. It really isn't. It shouldn't be this hard, but NFL coaches make things harder than they should be sometimes.
And that's why when you look at league averages, okay, league average rushing, I think is like 4.1 a carry, something like that.
It's about that,
2.6, which is what they were last week. And if you're at 3.0, which is what they've been for the season, which is the worst in the league, it's like you're doing. So let's look at other teams. Let's look at horrible offensive lines with no Tom Brady, they're getting 4 yards a carry.
Yeah.
You can't find a way to get 4 yards a carry
in
this league. I mean, it's just, so it's not just personnel. It's not just, it's scheme. This is basic coaching. You got to be able to do this stuff.
Yeah, you're right. It is scheme. And at some point in time, everything has an expiration date. I mean, you're old enough, JP, to remember the run and shoot offense, right? You remember the run and shoot,
absolutely.
Mouse Davis and the Lions and all that.
Lions, absolutely.
Yeah, and it worked until you got down. Right. Yeah, it worked until you got down to about the 10-yard line, right? And then it was like the worst red zone goal line offense possible because you had all these small little receivers that thrived running all over the field. But when you get in that truncated part of the field, it didn't work really well. The Tampa 2, the cover 2, the Mike down the middle, when Monty Kiffin was the defensive coordinator, that worked great in the 90s. Yep. It was a staple defense. You can't run that as your base defense anymore. If the league didn't have the rules that protected receivers, if you could still have that John Lynch enforcer safety that could come down and knock the crap out of Torrey Holt going across the middle, you could run that. Right. But the league has taken that defense away from being a staple defense. You can mix it up. It could be a nice little change up. It could be part of your play calling repertoire when you're playing cover 1, cover 3. You can play cover 2 man under, but you can't play Tampa 2 as your staple defense anymore. And Lovie Smith tried to do that in 2014 here in Tampa for 2 years. Yeah. And they gave up slant passes all day long. I'm not saying that Bruce Arians' offense has expired, but it's certainly inching closer to that. Yeah. The route concepts are the same. The running scheme with duos the same. And when you have Pro Bowlers across the board, you can get away with it. When you have the most talented team in the league offensively, you can get away with it. But when you don't, it's become a predictable offense. And that's exactly why Mike Tomlin beat this offense a couple weeks ago, 20-18, because he saw this offense every day in practice and certainly during training camp when it was good on good for years when Bruce Arians was his offensive coordinator. So even without TJ Watt and Minka Fitzpatrick and the starting 3 cornerbacks, they could still beat it because they knew what was coming and they knew where to be in terms of their landmarks, and they stifled the Bucs passing game.
Do you think, though, and we've talked a little bit about it, how Chris Godwin really is not Chris Godwin right now. And I said it yesterday, if 7 catches could look ineffective, in a win, that's exactly what it was.
That's right.
The other day. It was completely ineffective. And the offense is so dictated on those skill guys, those elite players getting open, winning their matchups. And that's always been his bread and butter.
Right.
Is that probably more to this that we're probably talking about? Is Chris Godwin's just not Chris Godwin. Therefore, he can't get open and make those plays like this offense needs it to do.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, Nick. It really is, because in John Gruden's offense, Keenan McCardell, right, that Z wide receiver, the flanker, the flanker position, that was the straw that stirred the drink. That was Keenan McCardell, right? You had the X, which is the split end, that was Keyshawn Johnson. That's like Mike Evans, right? Mike Evans plays the X, plays the split end. It's where you try to get the one-on-ones, down the field. But the guy that's going to be the high volume guy in terms of targets and catches in this offense is the slot, right? It's the Y, not the Z so much, but it's the same principle, right? Like that Chris Godwin is the straw that stirs this drink, and he's just not Chris Godwin yet. He will be, I think, next year. This is that typical, hey, I'm back and I'm cleared to play, and I'm out there doing the damn thing, but I'm back to being healthy, but I'm not back to being Chris Godwin. And I think that's coming next year, hopefully. But yeah, it is problematic. That's a valid point right now why this offense is not as dynamic. The other thing too, though, is for whatever reason, so many of the routes that are being used and called and the throws that are being made are these hook patterns, these curls, where the receivers are catching the ball with their backs to the defense and they're not having any yak ability.
Yes.
Right. And that's, for whatever reason, that's kind of been the route du jour of every game day for the Buccaneers. These comebacks and curls where they don't get these guys on the move. And I'm not saying it has to be like a go route or a 9
crossing patterns,
but deep crossers, shallow crossers, double post, skinny posts, slow goes right down the seam. We're not seeing any of those where you have the opportunity. Actually, the only times we're seeing it really are the throws to the tight end. Cade Otton has had some of those.
Offense looks so plodding.
It does.
So slow because people aren't running. They're stopped. They're stop.
And they're stopping before the sticks too. I mean, exactly. How does Mike Evans not know where the sticks are and gets stopped a yard short? And maybe that's what Brady's talking about too. Is these receivers are it's one thing. Hey, when Tom has to get rid of the ball quickly, either because there's pressure or there is protection issues where he doesn't trust protection, where he's got to I want to get rid of the ball now. But okay, you gotta get that extra yard, right? Yep. It can't be a 7-yard throw on 3rd and 8. It's got to be an 8-yard throw on 3rd and 8. So maybe that's part of the effort thing too. Is these receivers, we saw it a couple times on Sunday, not getting to the sticks and turning and catching the ball. They're a yard short and then turning and catching the ball.
All right, last thing for you, Scotty. You covered John Gruden as I did for his entire tenure here.
Yeah.
He has interest in the USF job. I reported that, know that for a fact.
Yeah.
He has not been offered the job. He has not even been vetted by USF yet, but there are talks that they're going to meet at some point. Question to you is, would he be a good hire at USF? What do you think?
I don't think so, because I don't think Gruden could deal with the 20-hour rule in college. And actually, he's told me that. Yeah. When I broke the story many years ago of him getting back into coaching, and I was sitting there at the Fired Football Coaches of America office, and we were getting ready to watch some film, and I just kind of asked him, I said, well, what's all this talk about Tennessee and all this? He's like, man, I want to get back into coaching. And I was like, who, you do? Really? That's on the record? Okay, cool. That's going to be a big story. But he said, this is back when he's working for ESPN. He's like, I want to get back into coaching. That's why I'm doing this. I'm in the lab, and I'm learning about this as I visit other NFL teams, what they're doing, so I can stay up with the game. And he said, but I would never go back to college coaching because of the 20-hour rule. He's all about being in the lab with this quarterback. And the other thing too is, if you've studied John, the quarterbacks that worked out here in Tampa, Brad Johnson, veteran. Brian Griese, veteran. Jeff Garcia, veteran. I'm just saying here in Tampa, not Sean King, not Chris Sims, not Bruce Gradkowski. He doesn't like young quarterbacks. He likes experienced guys that can speak his language. Yep. He wants to teach college, not elementary school. And the problem is, when you're an 18-year-old freshman, right? You're a freshman.
You're green
coming out of high school, and he's it would be difficult. I don't think he'd have the patience for it. Now, the one thing I will say is, he wants to get back into coaching and not have this be his legacy. He doesn't want the NFL saying, you're not going to coach anymore and you're done and we finished you off, right? because Roger Goodell and John Gruden don't like each other, and that's fine, whatever. But I think John wants to desperately get back into coaching so he can go out on his terms whenever he wants to go out. And I think this is intriguing because he lives in Tampa. It's right here in the backyard. I think there's some interest in John, but I think, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I mean this in a good way. I think this would be good for his ego.
Yep.
To be able to, in his mind, right some wrongs and say, hey, I'm back and I can do this. And I think he'd give it a try. I just don't think he's wired for dealing with young kids.
I don't either.
I don't think he has the patience for the recruiting and all of that. I don't see it being a good fit for those reasons. He's an NFL coach.
I agree. And
honestly, I think he'd be better at high school than college. I think he'd honestly be better at high school than college because of the recruiting aspect that has to go with it. And you got to get on social media and kiss these players' asses and all this type of stuff. I don't think he's good off that.
I don't either. For all those reasons, I had this almost the exact same take earlier in the show. It's just not. I just don't think it's his cup of tea. I do also think there's a lot of people that are in his camp that are big time boosters at USF, and if he's ever going to get another job, I think this is going to be it because he is. He is well connected here, and he lives here, and it would be very interesting though for him coaching in the stadium, ripped it off. I mean, it's more superficial. I get it, but weird. All right, tell us what's going on at Pewter Report, my friend. You got great stuff this week, I'm sure. Covering them.
Yeah, this is a big week. We're Victory Monday. This is Victory Tuesday, right? At PewterReport.com, we've got. Sunday. It's Victory Day all week because the Bucs rarely win anymore. But we've got some great stories. Josh Capo's got a great Bucs film breakdown, letting you know what happened on the Cooper Cup TD with some insight there. And we've got, of course, our Bucs Seahawks preview. This is a big game coming up here. The Bucs have a chance to get to 500 before the bye week. It's a big game. So make sure you check out PewterReport.com all week long. We'll be at One Buck Place tomorrow for the players' press conferences and the media availability. And you can always find us on social media at Pewter Report on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And, of course, our Pewter Report's YouTube channel, Pewter Report TV. We want you to subscribe to that and check out our podcast. We do podcasts Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday during the regular season at 4 o'clock Eastern time live. If you miss those live shows, you can always catch the replay podcast version up on Pewter Report TV. And we also have wall-to-wall coverage for the pregame show, an in-game show, and a postgame show on Sunday.
If you're a Bucs fan, you got to be on Pewter Report. Great stuff, Scotty. As always, appreciate it, my friend.
Thank you, JP and Nick. Appreciate it.
All right. I'll take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little Lightning as they welcome in the greatest player in the game right now, Connor McDavid tonight. And you're going to go to the game, aren't you, Nick? All right. So we'll get into some hockey talk. Lots more coming your way. TJ Reed's going to join us at 11:40 right before he takes off for Germany. Stay with us. Was your car totaled in an accident? Did your insurance company use Kelley Blue Book or NADA to appraise the value of your car? Chances are they didn't, and you got shorted maybe thousands of dollars. Call the Jeeves Law Group for a free case evaluation because your insurance company may still owe you money. 727-894-2929. It's a free call, so why not find out if you have a case? Insurance companies have been running this scam for a while, and most folks don't know if they've been shorted. Trust me. Scott Jeeves is a different kind of attorney, the kind insurance companies hate to go up against. He could recover thousands of dollars, so why not call? 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell them JP sent you.
JP here for Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's premier investigation agency. Do you suspect your spouse is cheating or involved in a divorce, that your spouse is hiding money, an ex-employee or current employee with suspicious behavior? Is there a criminal matter you need help with? If you need information you can count on, using the professionals at Emerging Investigations is a slam dunk. Emerging Investigations is a licensed and insured private investigation agency, family-owned. Emerging is your ideal resource to secure evidence and validation, allowing you to make informed decisions in life's biggest matters. Led by industry executive Brian D'Antonio, Emerging possesses the experience and resources to get needed results. Emerging Investigations maintains an excellent reputation as a premier investigation agency. They are known for results. You're not just hiring a PI, but an organized, dedicated team using state-of-the-art technology. Their proven investigative methods produce crucial information used in criminal cases, insurance fraud, and personal injury claims. Many local attorneys, industry agencies, and your concerned neighbors all count on Emerging Investigations. Just go to their website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's 813-291-FACT-3228. Get results you can trust in life's biggest matters. Emerging Investigations. Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com.
Hey guys, Serena Fazan here for the Gold and Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Gold and Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Gold and Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community. None better than the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, or online at goldendiamond.com.
JP here for Italiano Insurance. If you've started a side hustle during COVID, business grown, you need business insurance, because if you get sued, you could lose all your personal wealth if you're not properly protected. That's right. Your home, your savings, everything could go. So get protected now. Call the great agents at Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799, and a real human will answer the phone and get you protected. If you haven't shopped your business insurance in a while, you could be overpaying by thousands. One customer had their golf buddy handling his business insurance, then called Italiano to shop it around, and they saved him $26,000 a year. Yeah, so call 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com. Italiano Insurance, protecting all the pieces of your life for over 60 years. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amount up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, one unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately, or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's rock. This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, our second hour here, brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com, and the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. If you're interested in some testosterone replacement therapy, TRT, BAMMC is the way to go. Chris Lugo was on with us last week and dispelled a lot of myths that you might have heard about testosterone replacement therapy. So it's a great show. We have it in our podcast section, I believe. Great information there if you're interested in that, or losing weight, or if you want to get your immune system boosted up, whatever it is. And it's a good time to do it heading into the cold and flu and COVID season, I guess now. Go to BAMMC.com, get an appointment, and they will help you out. There's so many things that you can do now that will help your immune system, build up your immune system, exercise, testosterone replacement, all those things. Go to BAMMC.com for more information, and please tell them JP sent you. So we will both be at the hockey game tonight as the Lightning try to build on their 5-3 win over the Sabres the other night. And Connor McDavid in the house. And he scored a goal last night against Washington in their 5-4 loss. That was just ridiculous. I think there's a new power play setup. So if you haven't seen it, and we'll tweet it out if we can, McDavid is on the power play. He circles around to the point. It takes the puck and then skates by one Capital, skates by another, dekes another, and then puts it in the back. And just skated right in on a power play. And just scored. It's such a McDavid thing to do.
It's. I don't know how to put it into words, honestly, because it's like unlike anything you usually see on a power play. It's like, watch him on the power play. Like, Cooch will just sit in his spot. Right, Stammer sits in his spot. Everybody kind of just finds their spot in our power play. I
don't think I've ever seen that.
No, this guy's up top. He's on the side. He's down low. He's on this side. He goes in like a circle, and he's just taking his guy for a ride. And then eventually he gets the puck at the top of the point. And he's like, all right, now I'm going straight.
I'm just going to go straight to the net.
I mean, and it's just the way he does it. It's so quick, and it's with such grace, and he just gets in so tight on the goalie, and they just can't poke check it away. Nobody could stop the guy. I mean,
maybe hit him. You can't
hit him though.
He's too fast.
These great players, they never really get hit usually.
No.
He's just too quick. He's too good on the puck. I mean, I looked at his numbers this morning. This guy, he's only 25 years old, by the way. He's not even technically in his prime. He's got 27 points in 13 games.
It's insane.
It's unbelievable. Every single year, every single year, he just every single year he just like raises his game to another level. I mean this. I didn't see Gretzky play. You hear all about him. I have a hard time believing anybody was as talented as this guy.
Well, it's interesting you say that because I do the post-game show with Brian Engblom, who played against Gretzky for many, many years, two-time Stanley Cup champion Brian Engblom. And he was talking about McDavid and Gretzky. And he said, if he would shoot the puck more, he believes he could probably score 80 goals.
Yeah, he's unselfish.
Very unselfish. But he said, Google the Connor McDavid's off-ice workout or summer workout. And he said, you just go look at it. And the way he works out with his foot speed and the things that he does, like jumping across a line and while he's moving the puck, it's just his ability to skate and handle the puck is unlike anything I've ever seen. Now, Brian, I don't think he went as far to say he's better than Gretzky. Nobody's ever going to say that. But just in terms of a talented ice skater, handler of the puck, all those things, he said he's never seen anything like it. Never seen anything like it.
And it shows. I mean, the gap between him and the second best player, I think, is larger than in any other sport. We saw Austin Matthews score 60 goals. His teammate Leon Draisaitl's amazing. McKinnon, we got to see in the Stanley Cup Finals, amazing. Kel McCarr, he's just on another level, and it's the reason why he has such power. It's like, Toronto comes into town all the time, right?
Right.
Crosby comes to town, all this stuff, and it's cool. I'm going out of my way to go to this game tonight, and I'm taking friends with me. I got friends. I'm like, hey, let's go see McDavid play.
Right.
Cheering on the Lightning, but I want to see McDavid play. You want to check that off your bucket list. Yeah. So that's why we're here. And it's like, is he likely going to score a goal, guys? Yes, he will.
Yes.
It's probably going to happen, and it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
But it's just, you have to just marvel at a great player like that.
Yeah, Edmonton gives up a lot of goals. They score a lot of goals. Yep. It'll be an entertaining game, no question about it. Right now, it's one of the problems that the Lightning have. You don't want to go into a game against Connor McDavid and Draisaitl and be giving up 10 bell chances, which is what the Lightning are doing right now. They're just not defensively. And this is to be expected. Victor Hedman's been in and out of the lineup the last week. And Ryan McDonough is still not
huge
here.
Loss.
Still not here. So, and Engblom said this the other day that he thought Sergei was the best player on the ice. Sergachev was the best player on the ice the other night. And he's been playing well. I think he's been playing really, really well. and he's being asked to replace those minutes for Ryan McDonough. And they're just different type of players. And maybe that makes it look worse. But there's no question that the Lightning continue to give up way too many grade A chances, and they got to cut back on that. They just got to cut back on that. And especially tonight, you will get abused if you do not make the right plays. And Vasi will be back in net, although Moose did a great job on Saturday night. He played really, really well. And the Lightning got a big win, but they've allowed at least 13 high-danger chances in 7 of their 12 games this season. That's not good. You can't do that. You can't keep exposing your goalie to that type of pressure. It's just, even with Vasilevsky, that's not going to work out for the long run.
Yeah, and they really just haven't had many games. And we've talked about this too, that it was going to be a lot of growing pains.
Yeah.
Probably until, you get Cirelli back. I know Bogosian's close to coming back, but until you get Cirelli and get your full lineup, there's going to be some growing pains there. But there really hasn't been a game, or many of them at least, in the wins where you can confidently say, yeah, the Lightning were the better team. They deserve to win. They got away with this pretty good. It's always been kind of a battle in a lot of these games.
Yeah,
it's kind of where they are right now.
I would say through the first month, they've played their C+ game.
Probably, yeah.
C+ game would be. I mean, and they're still above 500, obviously. But I'd say they played their C+ game. They've not been able to hold leads in the third period, which has been their hallmark, right?
Yeah.
They've not been able to limit the shots and the grade A chances, which has been something that during the cup run they've been very, very good at. But that's almost to be expected with this. There's a lot of new faces. It's like Cooper said the other night, yeah, we play Carolina a lot. And I'm like, yeah, you have, but not with this group. And that was the night Hedman was out. I don't think Hedman played that game either.
No, he did not.
Yeah. So, I mean, this group had not played, a lot of the core players, but almost half those players were new faces. And if you count, Nick Paul and Hagel, even more. So, this is a group that's learning on the fly. And it's almost like Coop is preaching to the old guys to get back to playing that defense first hockey and trying to teach the new guys this is how it works. So let's listen into Coop. This was yesterday in preparation after the morning skate in preparation for Edmonton.
We saw Bogosian in the blue jersey. Is his timetable still kind of the same in terms of
it's his.
He's still week to week?
Yes, he is. Like I said, we always knew that he was going to be ahead of Cirelli in coming back. But you start looking around at Thanksgiving time, there should be signs of him coming back.
Given that seeing him in the Blues, that an emotional boost to the guys?
I'm sure it's one for Zach. But he's a big part of our team, great guy. And it's just that this part of rehab is always the tough part because you really feel like you're ready to go, but doctor's telling you you're not quite ready yet. But I think just the mere fact that he gets to, nobody has to pull up and bump him. He can bump other guys. That is definitely a big boost.
John, you talked the other night about, you were happy with the 2 points, but some of these, high danger scoring chances that you guys were allowing, you needed to cut down on. When you work on that and work on correcting that, is it more the mental part of it, the physical, the execution part of it, or what's the key, I guess?
There's a few things to it. Like, basically, when you're playing D zone, it's all about winning your battles, and it's all those things you have to do away from the puck. And everybody wants to have the puck on the stick, and I understand that. But if you want to get it back, these are things you have to do. And whether it's mental lapses, whether you're a little tired, you can't sway from like what our principles are and what we're doing, because if one guy does it, then there's a breakdown. It's just a trickle down effect. So we had a couple breakdowns, and the bottom line is that's the ice you have to protect, is the middle of the ice. And so got away with it. Moose bailed us out a few times, but something we are working on this week and trying to show the guys the wrongs of their ways and what we have to protect.
What's that balance like between having a sense of urgency but settling the puck to stay within your structure, especially against high volume shooting teams?
Well, there is a balance, but that's why you play 82 games, and you got to play to your strengths in the same way all the time. You can't change, you can't deviate. And other teams play different styles. Like Buffalo plays a different style than Carolina. It's going to play a different style than Edmonton. And so, I'm a big believer in we got to get our house in order, and let's play to our strengths and make teams have to adapt to us. And that's what we got to do.
Ross has always had kind of like a heavy, powerful shot, but have you noticed maybe an increased level of comfort this season, or how has he grown from, the younger Ross Colton to the one now?
Well, the big thing is probably, there's a little bit more to his role now. He's played in some big moments, but he hasn't played big minutes. And now he's starting, the power plays become, kind of fixture with him. And, as his years gone on, he's gotten better and better and better. Now, do I think, Ross started slow, and we talked about that in the beginning. But especially in the third period the other night, I thought his line was exceptional. Ross he's got to bring energy. He's a good sized guy. He brings that physical aspect to the game, and it just opens up his offensive game for him. And I think it's just rinse and repeat with him to keep doing that. And it's coming though. And I really liked the way he played the other night.
That line played well, certainly, but that top line, what they have, 9 points total. Yeah, 9 points total. Hagel and Kucherov and Point. I mean, just ridiculous. They're playing so well, and you I would put that line up against any line in hockey right now, and you're going to see a line come in tonight that's pretty good.
I'll argue for that one, actually.
Well, I think with Pointer, they're a little bit more responsible in the defensive end. Obviously, Coach. But Coach has been better on the back check. I'll give him that.
Yeah, like plus minus is what you will. I know that stat can kind of be a little wonky, but for as much as McDavid's on the ice when they score, he's only a +4. Yeah. You'd think that'd be a little bit higher, but again, that stat sometimes a little wonky.
It is, but they giveth and they taketh away, and that's part of it.
It's always been their
MO. One of the reasons that you're, and that's part of winning hockey. You can have great scorers, but if they're not taking care of their back end and they're giving up points,
all that tells me is you got two teams that are struggling defensively right now, and two offensive juggernauts, and you can already tell where this one's going. It's on TNT tonight, so it's a prime time.
What's the over/under on this? Probably 7.5, maybe 8.
Hockey's always so conservative. They always put it at like 3 or like 3.5.
This one.
But there's no way you're doing it for this one, right?
No, I don't think so. I'll check it out of the break. But this one should be good. It's 7:30 tonight. Yeah, it's 7:30 TNT puck drop. So prepare accordingly if you're heading out to the game. We will get going on the radio at 6:30 on the strike in 102.5 The Bone. I believe that's Eric Erlinson and Chief. And then Greg Anelli with the network pregame show at 7:00, and then Phil and Mish at 7:30. And if you go to the game, by the way, there's an app you can use to listen to the radio broadcast as well while you're watching the game, which is kind of cool. And then the post game, I will be on with Brian Engblom from the Tap Room, Cigar City on Thunder Alley. So come by and say hello. We'll be doing that on 102.5 The Bone tonight. So check that out as well. And Greg Anelli and Chief do the network post-game show right afterwards, and then we come up a half hour after. So lots of Lightning coverage tonight. We'll take a break, and when we come back on the other side, we'll get into a little bit more of the Todd Bowles from yesterday. We'll get back to the Bucs, and we're going to answer some of the thoughts from our tweet yesterday on the John Gruden to USF, and we'll get into a couple other notes as well on this election day. Brought to you by BAMFC.com, Bay Area Modern Medical Center, Chris Lugo and his medical team there, and the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES Lawgroup.com. If you have not gotten a fair shake from your insurance company, homeowners or auto, call the Jeeves Law Group. They will protect you, and the insurance company will have to pay their fees. So call them. It's a free call at JeevesLawGroup.com. Back at 3.
Time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com.
Hey guys, Serena Fazan here for the Gold and Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Gold and Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Gold and Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community. None better than the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, or online at goldendiamond.com.
Are you concerned your spouse might be cheating or want to locate a long-lost or of or missing person and the police are not helping? An insurance adjuster who needs proof of injury. Hi, I'm Rachel D'Antonio from Tampa Bay's premier private investigation agency, Emerging Investigation. We have a proven track record of results. Local attorneys and insurance companies hire us to discover insurance fraud and crucial information in criminal cases. We can help in custody matters, and we devote a tremendous state-of-the-art technology and cutting-edge industry surveillance techniques to get you trusted results. Larger corporate agencies can be more expensive and do not offer the personal level of customer service and interaction that we pride ourselves on. We are a family-owned business. Our professional experience team includes my son, lead investigator Zach Tony, a former collegiate athlete, and my daughter Emily, who leads our in-house investigations team. Don't take matters into your own hands by trying to install snooping programs on phones or GPS trackers. That can cause unneeded stress and give you inaccurate results. Go with the professionals at Emerging Investigations. We have proven results and tremendous testimonials from our satisfied customers. Call for a free consultation and we can discuss how we can help. Peace of mind is as valuable as bad news. Just go to our website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's emerginginv.com. We're Emerging Investigations. We get results in life's biggest matters.
Guys, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling.
Pure sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to JP Peterson Show, brought to you in our second hour by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Also, Italiano Insurance. There's another hurricane out there headed our way, folks. Not going to be an Ian, though. Looks like it's going to cross the state and probably be a tropical storm by the time it hits us Wednesday night or Thursday. So it's coming. It's coming. And this, I think, is going to perhaps affect the Buccaneers' travel plans. We don't know yet, but they were planning on leaving Thursday after practice, which is exactly the time that the center of that storm is going to be hitting us with a lot of wind and rain. Not to say that these planes can't take off in that, but probably not ideal. So, and if they have to change their logistics, that's going to be a Herculean effort in terms of getting hotels a night early and everything else. I mean, wow.
Haven't we had enough?
I know.
Just in general with this hurricane,
Jiminy
have we had
Christmas.
enough? I think I saw something that this is the first hurricane since 1850, or tropical storm, hurricane, whatever storm that's going to hit at this time of the year in Florida since 1850.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this, man? Haven't we
It's
had
weather.
enough?
It's called weather. It just happens.
Well,
It's not you doing anything. It's not your fault. Just want you to know that.
I'm just going to say it right now. I actually had this conversation with Casey last night. You know what she told me?
What?
She said, global warming, Nick. And I said, well, what do I do to fix myself? And she proceeded to spout off a bunch of things that I didn't know. They didn't make sense to me, but I'm not getting into that.
We don't control the weather. We don't control the weather. Nobody controls the weather. Everything that you're doing, it's great for the environment. Do things for the environment.
She told me to eat less
control
meat, and I think that's where I kind of checked out a little bit. Eating less meat.
Yeah, we are definitely not going down that rabbit hole today.
No.
Definitely not. All right, so let's get into a little bit of Todd Bowles from yesterday. Some other curious. You know what though? I want to get a chuckle. Can we do the Irsay first? Or are you ready with Bowles?
I can get Irsay real quick.
Okay. I just so I need a chuckle. So Jim Irsay, who of course inherited this team from his father. So Silver Spoon guy who had, major issues in drug rehab many, many years ago. The dude is just weird. He's just weird. Probably should be in jail for multiple deals, but for rich folks. And so he goes and fires Frank Reich and then hires Jeff Saturday, who is currently working at ESPN and has been a consultant. Yes, there are other former players on the staff right now. Reggie Wayne, great former players. So if you wanted to turn to a former player to bring back a little of the nostalgia, probably would have been the best play to do. And certainly raises a lot of eyebrows about minority hires. Let's be honest about that. But this is what old, doddering, crazy white men, rich white men do. They just do whatever the hell they want. And it looks stupid. I'm the last one to play those cards. But when it's right there in your face, you got to look at it for what it is. And so here's a potpourri of Jim Irsay's wacky ass press conference.
We're fourth winningest franchise in the league since 2000. All right, that means in the upper quartile of winners, we're in the top quartile of that upper quartile. You want to bet against this guy? Put your money down, people. Love to see it. Love to see it. No, the game is not different. We don't build rockets to go to Mars. We're not nuclear scientists. That is none of our jobs here. It's a very simple jobs that we do here. I don't know how to make sausage. I don't know what goes into sausage. But I do know how to build a football team because I've been around for 52 years. There is no problem of perception, except some of you guys make a problem of perception, but you need hits, so you got to do it. I understand. I do the same thing. I was a broadcast journalism major too. I don't know. You guys ever held accountable to your editors bring you in and say, well, you wrote that stuff. It was all wrong. You're fired. But I'm not sending a fighter in the ring I love. When I think that it's time and let him get pummeled. No. Certain people just have it. They have it. And you see it when you know it. I've never hired a losing head coach. We're the fourth winningest team in the league. It's not about belief. It's about fact. What we've done, we're better than most all. It's that simple. Our record proves it over a period of time. So you don't have to believe much when it's there in black and white. We're the
Yeah, you had Peyton Manning, you had Andrew Luck, you had a good run. They've done a lot of good things. There's no question about it. They won a Super Bowl.
How many wins the Colts have this year? 2?
Yeah.
What have you done for me lately, Jim? What have you done?
You can't just go hire a guy out of the television booth who is not, is not on your coaching staff, and I guess an interim position. Hey, what is Jeff Saturday going to do? Walk in there and do an episode of Pancakes? Jump up and down and throw pancakes everywhere and go, ooh, look at that block. I love Jeff Saturday. He's a great broadcaster. He's fun to watch. I really I think he knows the game. But, there's way more to coaching. It's like this, it's like the Gruden deal. It's like it sounds great and it looks great and it's like shiny and big name. He'll come to USF and make it relevant and blah, 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 blah. Then you got to get down to the dirty part of the job, right? Now, if you're Jeff Saturday, you got to get down to the dirty part of the job. Start hiring and firing people and doing all these things. And you have really no knowledge of the inner workings of the organization. It's a clown move. It's a clown move.
And like
it's a clown move that he can do because he can do it.
Yeah, and I feel bad
It's disrespectful to the league. It's disrespectful to the players. It's disrespectful to the coaches there. And I'm not picking on Jeff Saturday, but it's
not his fault.
Yeah, but he agreed to do it.
I mean, once he wants to get into coaching, he's being set up for failure.
Absolutely.
But the bigger issue here. This is blatant tanking. This is blatant tanking in front of the NFL's face. You are telling everybody we just want to put somebody in there that we know that he's not going to, or we know he doesn't know what he's doing. We don't care what the product look like. We just want to get one of these top quarterbacks and go on about our day. So I'm going to put him in here. He's going to be set up to fail. I don't give a shit about the people we have on the coaching staff because none of them are going to be here next year anyway. I don't care. I have all this money.
Yeah.
You don't. That's exactly what this is.
Exactly.
And how about this? There's not a single guy on that coaching staff that has ever called a play in the NFL. And now here you go. You got 6 days. Somebody figure it out. What is this?
It's embarrassing.
This is the NFL.
It's embarrassing. It's an embarrassment to the NFL. It's a clown move, and it's just it's typical. It's just
it is.
It's just what gives all bad white guys a bad name. This is the good old boys network at work, and it's not good. It's not good, folks. I don't like it. It's bad. It's bad. All right, let's get to Todd Bowles and what he had to say yesterday. What time we got? We have 36. Okay, we got TJ Reeves coming up here in just a little bit. I need a bigger clock. That's what I need. I said clock. Let's go to Todd Bowles.
Wow.
It's election day, folks. We're trying to have a good time today.
No.
Not so much the talk yesterday was the final drive and the excitement of that. What do you think about the way the defense finished the game to get 3 and outs the last 3 drives before they step back up?
That was big. It gave us some time on the clock and not give them first down. So giving them 44 seconds turned out to be more than enough just to get the ball back and give them a chance. Big. So the last 2 drives, them getting off the field helped that a lot.
Aside from the 2-minute drives when you win the game, offensively, you guys, still didn't get the ball in the end zone, kick some field goals. I know you had to run more. It seemed like you ran it a lot on first down. Did you see any real progress? I mean, winning the game is the thing. You get that. I don't want to minimize that. But just in terms of what you wanted to see from your offensive.
So some good, some bad from the run production. We missed a few blocks here and there. I think that had a lot to do with it. Again, we're making an effort to do it, but not at the expense of losing the ball game. So we're going to continue to work on it and go from there.
I have to pause there because, first of all, I didn't see any good. There was no good and bad. There was just bad. And he said we're not going to do it at the expense of losing the ball game. You literally were about to do it, if not for the other team's incompetence.
Exactly. 100%. This is what I hate about these narratives that are totally based on the outcome of the game. If they lose this game, which by all rights they should have lost this game, the narrative is completely different. And people you just gloss over the bad because you won the game. Because Cooper Kupp was more concerned about keeping the clock running than getting the first down. Because we clearly can't cover a jet sweep, or at least that particular time, which you knew was coming.
And then because the
Can you
Rams,
imagine what we're talking about right now?
Yeah.
If they run jet sweep to Cooper Kupp in that situation, they get a first down to salt the game away. Everybody's losing their mind going. And the only reason he didn't get the first down is because he slid.
Yep.
He puts his head down. He gets first down. No question about it. No question in my mind whatsoever. And yeah, okay.
Are there things you point to in terms of things you guys step back and reevaluated and wanted to do differently that you saw as a plus, as an improvement, as a change in yesterday's game?
I mean, there's a lot of things we want to try to improve and step back and do. We got better defensively on third down, especially third and long. That's been an Achilles heel the past couple of weeks. Red zone defense got a little better. We moved the ball a little more on offense. Just small things that we got to continue to work at.
Todd, getting Carlton and Sean.
There was a 3rd and 9 in the first, I believe in the first half, where they get a little bit of pass rush. Vita almost gets you. They rush 4. They rush 4. Okay. And the back slips out to the left on 3rd and 9. And Stafford has to dump it out to him. There's nobody within 20 yards of him. And Devin White runs over. I don't know if it was his man. I'm not going to defend him. Who was? This is the easiest 3rd and 9 conversion in the history of football. I mean, that's awful. There should be 2 guys there waiting for that running back to take him down, and he gets 13 yards on a 3rd and 9. It's just. But in general, they were better on 3rd down. But that certainly was not one of their better moments.
Back was a big boost to the defense. Can you speak of the job that they did, especially setting the perimeter as well when the Rams tried to go sideline to sideline?
I thought they played physical. Going into the game, it was a big emphasis on not having yards after catch or the jet sweeps, getting out there and getting some yardage. And I thought all 3 corners played very physical and did a good job.
They really did. Am I okay physically?
So far, yeah, I haven't gotten the final reports yet, though.
Sean Murphy,
but Julio came off a little gingerly. Is anything heard about him?
Not yet. I'll check on it.
Todd, what's going on with the screen game right now? It seems like you're running a lot of plays with the screen, but not really to great effect. What isn't working with that aspect of the offense?
Well, a lot of things, the timing aspect of it. The defense is playing it well at times, and at times we get discombobulated. We got to continue to work at that or find different ways of doing it.
How about we just don't call the screens? Do
Let's
we
not
have
do it anymore.
Do we have to call the screens?
No.
Is that in the rule book where it says you have to call 4 or 5 screens a game?
Well, it's better than running the football at this point. I think it is.
I don't know. I saw about one go for about a yard. I saw another one go for a 2. I saw another one that probably should have gotten housed for 6 the other way.
Oh, that was a bad one.
I'm seeing them being thrown to Mike Evans. I'm seeing them being thrown to Chris Godwin. I'm seeing them being thrown to Brashad Perriman. So I have no idea who they're supposed to be. I don't need to see the screen anymore. I don't.
Well,
myself.
Yeah, it's been a struggle.
A little bit.
Let's welcome in our good friend TJ Reeves, Bucs sideline guy, who is packing his lederhosen as we speak.
By the way, Tom Brady did not throw me a screen pass, but I was one of the few that did not get one the other night, I don't think. Good to be with you guys.
Are you sure? Because I thought I saw you targeted.
I had no receptions. I was not targeted. I had no receptions,
Well,
although
you were probably dropping the ball like many other Bucs receivers.
Levante David taking down Darrell Henderson in the 4th quarter. Actually, the 3rd quarter coming right at Tracy Wolfson and me. So I almost did get to participate. On Sunday there. With that, you always got to be on your toes on the sideline. And look, I heard a lot of you guys yesterday. I sampled around a lot of different things, a lot of different opinions, and I know you got some strong ones about what needs to be better. I have to tell you, yes, on a lot of it, it does need to be better. But for right now, take the win. And I know you said that. You articulated that. Take the win to gain some confidence and then clean some stuff up. I don't know how much you can clean up before we get on the plane and head to Germany or not. This is going to be weird. It's going to be different. But clean some stuff up and play. Stop self-inflicting with penalties like you guys were saying, drop balls, miss blocks. There are things within your control that you can clean up. And that is an area where I think they do need to hone in on, be better, be sharper, for sure.
And I think one of the big positives I took out of this is I thought starting Thursday, Brady looked way better. His press conference, he was more cocksure, more confident. He just had a different air about him. I know you've talked to some people in the building that have kind of said the same thing. He just, he's got a lot of this personal stuff behind him. I thought he was way better on the field. I thought he was way better in every facet of the game. Your thoughts?
So yes, the short answer is yes. The personal weight being lifted off of him. And let's look, we won't go into all of it. And I don't profess here on the FanStream JP show to be an expert on what all is going on behind the scenes, but I know some about this. Yeah. And part of it is that he's used to having the family around him for game weekend, be around him for the game, after the game. And they've had to work that out now with the divorce proceedings about when does he get to see his kids in this during the season. Obviously, that's going to weigh on you. You talked about at this at length, and we're open about it. And I was proud of you when you were talking about what you were going through with when do I get to see my kids with all the work duty. So it's a big deal. You're trying to figure all that out while you're playing. One of the things that you come back to is there's obviously a lot and probably too much of 1 yard throws, 2 yard throws, 5 yard throws. You want to start looking more downfield as you move forward with this Seattle game, etc. How much of that is injuries to the receivers and who can get open down the field? How much of it is trusting the offensive line, which is not as good? I'm not revealing nuclear secrets here on the FanStream JP show. The interior line in front of him is not the same. Kids, it's not the same. So when you're trying to protect him, when you're trying to keep him clean and not getting knocked down, it's a tougher ask with that interior line right now to keep people off of him. That's why you're seeing short throw. So hopefully they get away from some of that. But I agree. I mean, he's still got zip on the football down the field. There's a lot to still be happy with, and let's see if they can get on some kind of a roll, win a couple of games, win 3 games in a row, and get some momentum going. That would be a great thing if you can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the biggest part of this. Winning games gives you momentum, and it gives you confidence, as you mentioned. And defensively, look, the Rams are not the Rams that we saw last year offensively. Right. We get it. Matthew Stafford's not the same dude, but that was a dominant defense performance. If not for that one slip up, you gave up 139 yards to the Rams. I mean, that was
except if we're nitpicking, can we get a takeaway again for the Buccaneer D that has been phenomenal at getting strip sacks, interceptions, punching the ball out? 5 games. 5 games, you don't have a takeaway. That was the only thing that you took from Sunday was, can they get an easy score? Can they flip a quick short field to get Brady and company an easy score? Where have the takeaways gone, guys? I'm going to hit that ball back over the net to you guys. You got to start.
Levante
it can't go 5 games.
Yeah, Levante had his hands on 2, and 2 that should have been picks. I'm trying to think of who else had one. But I think he had
the one in the third quarter, to your point, was right in front of me, and he is likely 80 yards, 85 yards the other way for a touchdown.
No
he
question.
just could. He was probably like a quarter of a step, a fraction of a second from being in front of that ball and gone. But you got to make that happen.
You know who hasn't been around the last 5 games, most of the last 5 games? And, well, first of all, Logan Ryan has not, and he was a big part of getting those turnovers early. And then Antoine Winfield, who's been out now for 2.5 games, 3.5 games, 2.5 games.
He left in like the first or second quarter of the Carolina game. So you're right. 2.5 games.
Yeah. And he's the one that's been producing a lot of those, and they put him in position to do those. Mike Edwards was the guy that has been good at getting the ball out or taking the ball away. We haven't seen it from him. So yeah, that's what needed. But I was pleasantly surprised without Shaq Barrett. And we said this last week. This is going to force Todd Bowles to create pressure now with more exotic blitz packages and not necessarily rely on just the front 4. And I thought they did that well last week. I thought that, Vita got a couple of sacks. He ran into a couple sacks. That was an
dig that ball out of there.
Knock it out.
Slash. Yeah. Simeon Rice turned that into an art form. And there were others. Lawrence Taylor before him. But Simeon Rice turned that slash, that hack it out of there into an art form coming from the blind side. I know Vita's not always coming from the blind side. Get the ball out if you can and get a short field. Hey, I know you're kind of short on time. I wanted to answer something that you guys were talking about, and I've got a lot of fans that have asked me. People were wondering about the Bulls' decision to not challenge on the punt by Jake Camarda. And my God, what a day he had. You guys were covering it. Everybody's talking about it. How good does that draft pick look right now with him off that punting day? To average 59 yards a punt. Now, first of all, you don't want to have 6 punts in a game, but Nick, I loved your stat. It is the greatest punting day for anybody that's punted at least 6 times in a game, 59.5 yards average. Incredible. So that includes the touchback, by the way, for the net there, that he would have had an even better percentage on the net. Had they marked it down at the 1. Okay, so in the dynamic, CBS went to commercial. JP, you're in the press box. Nick, you're watching on TV. There are millions watching on TV going, oh, they should challenge that. I'm down there on the sideline, and I'll give you a little insight. This is just world according to TJ with what I saw. So Todd Bowles had the flag out, and he was ready, I believe, to throw it because he's being told upstairs it doesn't look like it's on the line. Right. Sean Hockley came over, and I believe New York told him out of the control room, tell Todd Bowles that we don't have a conclusive replay, and he's just going to lose his challenge and waste time here. Part of it, and they've talked to the coaches, they've talked to the teams in the offseason. They want to keep the game going if you're in commercial. Okay. They don't want to come out of the commercial and have a challenge flag, so they're trying to expedite. I know it seems weird, but I think New York told Sean Hockley because he walked all the way over to Todd Bowles during the commercial, and Bowles said something back to him and kind of shook his head and then just put the flag back in. I think he was telling him from New York, you're not going to win this. They've already looked at it. You're not going to win this. So what are your thoughts on that? That's what I believe happened.
Well, that brings up Pandora's box because, first of all, if you're Sean McVay and you're the Rams, you're incensed. You're incensed because you just got –
But they'll come over. Well, they'll come over and tell him the same thing in those situations, though, too. It's kind of understood.
But let's listen. Let's deal with this situation. If he challenges that and loses,
right,
timeout goes away.
Correct.
They can't get the ball back on the last.
At the very end of the game, it would have been 13 minutes left. You'd have been down to 2 timeouts, and at the end of the game, you'd have had 1 left. You're correct.
Right. So he would. So the Rams could have taken a knee and won the game. So in that sense, he got inside information from New York. If that's
and I should articulate better. That happens. That happens during games where they come tell them, where New York says, this is what's going on, where to spot the ball, and the official will come over and tell them things like, you can't challenge this. You can't challenge this. It's actually
you can't challenge it is different from saying don't challenge, you're going to lose. And here's the other thing. If Hockley told him, like, we don't believe it was it's going to be on 3-yard line. We believe it was a touchback. Well, that was the call they made, obviously. So if you're telling, Bowles that, then it's just, well, I'm going to challenge it anyway. So I thought had gone on, and I was asking others in the press box, et cetera. I said, was there a CBS look that showed the ball touching the white or down the line? And there was apparently down the line camera on a 4:30 game.
I don't know.
They install a down the line camera.
Correct.
In games. It's a fixed camera.
Correct.
So how did they not have that shot?
I don't know.
That's because
you know what? Maybe New York had that shot. I'm not apologizing for them. Maybe they had that shot and they saw a dot of white paint. Yeah. I'm just telling you, this is what I'm here for in part on the fan stream, JP. I'm telling you what I saw. And I saw Hockley come over during the commercial, and I saw Bowles put the flag away because he had it out. I will defend him. He had it out and was ready to throw it. Let's take a look at it. But there you go.
It ended up
worked out in the end.
Yeah, it really did. It ended up working out for him because and you would just want them to get it right? That's what we want to get. And a down the line camera, because I was waiting for that view on the Jumbotron or on the TV, and they never gave it to us. So they obviously didn't have the shot, or maybe only New York had it. But
CBS had, because I've rewatched that part of it, they had an in zone shot zoomed in high definition, and you still could not definitively tell did it touch the line or not. It would have been close. It might have been a call stance.
Yeah, it's a worthless shot from behind because unless you have the ball actually on the ground, which that shot was not.
Or you see white chalk fly up, that would help you. Yes, I agree with you.
None of that existed. Yeah. So you guys, now as you head to Germany, before I let you go here, we're short on time.
I know you are.
But what's going on? Like, when you guys going to take off? And if you have to switch your, how are they going to get a new?
Hey, is there anything going on this week? Is there anything going on this week? We got an election going on today. We got Nicole. Nicole's going to pay us a visit, the tropical storm, and we're trying to get to Germany all in the next 48 hours to take off and leave.
Given what's happened around the world, I mean, Lord knows what tomorrow brings in the election. I mean, and we got a hurricane. We're going to have whatever is going on tomorrow. I mean, just.
I don't know. So at the moment, we are slated to leave on Thursday afternoon. We're slated to leave. We'll keep an eye on the tropical storm. I'll let you know. And that's the Bucs travel plan, is to fly all night Thursday and then go do a walkthrough on Friday with the time change. Now 6 hours ahead in Germany with the time change, to go do a walkthrough Friday. That's the current plan. and you just got to be ready to roll and adjust. We'll wait. We'll keep you up to date, JP, on what happens. And now you go play a good Seahawks team in Germany. I'll keep you posted as best I can from Germany on what's going to happen here. It's going to be some jacked environment, some crazy environment. But that game on Sunday, I'm just glad that we get a win, calm everything down a little bit, maybe get a little momentum going, get off to a better start, get some takeaways, and let's see what happens, brother.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, TJ, have a great trip over there, my man. Bring me back a Hofbrauhaus, one of those Stein
I will.
things.
I will. I've been hearing about all of that, so I'm not a big beer guy. I'm not a beer drinker, but I may get you a beer stein. We'll see if I can fit it in the carry-on. And I pledge to you, God willing, we will get there and be back. I'll try to be back on the JP show next week to tell you about Germany. Guten Tag, Schnitzel. We look forward to it, brother.
I'll be watching your Twitter and all of your Instagram and whatnot with great interest. Thank you, partner. Appreciate it.
Be well, boys. Be well.
All right, that's the great TJ Reeves there. Yeah, that's going to be, if they don't get out of here, certainly don't want to take off into a freaking storm. That's not something you want to do on a heavily loaded 767 or whatever the hell they're going on. Have you ever been on one of those big planes, those jumbo transatlantic
Well,
planes?
you know, I've only been on one plane. So.
Okay, so you've never been on these planes.
No.
Holy shit. These things they are a modern marvel of technology, first and foremost. When you walk up, when you see the plane, like it's almost twice the size of a 737.
You're about like the team planes, right?
Yeah, these transatlantic jumbo planes that they fly in. We flew in one over when we went to Tokyo with the Bucs back in, what was that, 03 or whatnot. And I've taken a couple transatlantics on these planes, and they're just humongous. And when you pack them down with all that gear, and you need a long runway. You need a long runway, and you're in these planes. You're like, you don't think it's gonna fly, and I've seen these planes coming in for landing. You know, if you ever go, I used to take my son all the time to the parking garage at TIA, and we'd watch the planes land. And you watch the big boys come in. It's spectacular. The wings are so big, and they're almost flapping. It's unbelievable how big they are. Being on one of those planes, taking off into a 60, 70 mile an hour wind. Oh, hell no.
I'm getting a knot in my stomach thinking about it. As somebody who doesn't like flying.
Yeah, I mean, it'll lift you up though. If you're taking off into a 60 mile an hour wind, that thing will go up quick. But that's not something I would be real interested in. That takeoff would be pretty damn hairy. So I'm guessing that they're probably like scrambling right now to get out of here sometime tomorrow, which is going to F up their entire practice schedule.
Yep.
Which is going to F up, and then they've got to land in Germany. So they got to come in a day
early.
And
Seattle already, have we determined yet, would they come across?
Well, I've heard that their flight is 13 hours.
So, but are they going to come across the country, or are they just going to go through Russia and all that crap?
I would think they'd go the other way. I would think that seems to make more sense.
But we're starting again with the other team having an advantage here.
Yeah,
because of things out of the Bucs' control.
Well, they're gonna they don't need to leave till they're not gonna have to change their plans at all.
Yeah,
but I would think the Bucs they're scrambling right now to try to figure out what the hell they're going to do, because I mean they were scheduled to leave Thursday afternoon, which is exactly when the center of the storm is going to be over us. And it's a big storm, and it's not going to be like an Ian that's category 3 or 4, but it's going to be.
Is it another one of those slow moving?
It's just a big pile of crap, and it's going to be windy and it's going to be rainy, and it's not something that's conducive to, I'd have to get some an aero expert on here to talk about it, but it's not something I believe would be conducive to one of those big transatlantic flights taking off and something like that. I mean, they're probably going to close the airport for
likely.
So, and that's the thing is, like, I'm sure that, are the accommodations ready a day early over there? Are the practice fields and everything? Maybe just simple, we're leaving a day early, but that just throws everything off. Everything that's been meticulously planned for, literally 6 months. Just everything is get thrown off. So once again, it's not and we saw how the Bucs played during that hurricane preparation against the Chiefs, although, it may be just because they were a bad football team and they played a good football team. That had a lot more to do with it. So we'll see what happens. All right. Anything else we did not get to today? We got the Irsay stuff in. Keep an eye on our social media. There will be some things going on over the next couple days regarding John Gruden and USF. There will probably be some meetings this week. and we'll see where that goes. But that's something to
Yep.
keep an eye on.
Yeah, and I was just seeing here. I guess Michael Kelly is speaking with the media as we speak.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll get some more information tomorrow based on what he said.
Yeah, and it's what Thomas Casper said. It's a 13-hour flight to Munich. All right, folks. Well, I will say this: it is election day, and if you're thinking about not voting, don't think about it. This is the most important election of my lifetime, and I'm an old mofo. I'm not going to get into any partisan stuff here, folks, but you all know what the score is, and it's time to get this country back to normal, get some unification going. And I'm not saying one side's better, well, I know at least in my mind there is. And what's currently going on now, I don't think has anything to do with the old Democratic Party or the old Democratic side or anything. These are strings that are being pulled on a global level. And what's happening in this country is absolutely unacceptable. And if it were the Republicans in charge, I would be voting Democrat. But whoever's in charge of this crap show needs to get the hell out of there, because this is not what America is about in any way, shape, or form. Censorship, forced vaccinations, all these things. This is not America. The rights that have been taken away the past 2 or 3 years by your elected officials, do not forget what happened and why it happened. And the information was out there. We talked about it here. They knew exactly what they were doing. So the apologies that are coming out now, to me, are completely hollow. They knew exactly what they were doing and why they were doing it. And we need to get back to a democracy, which is not what this has been for a long time. So I don't know if that's ever going to, we're ever going to have it the way it should be, but what's going on now is absolutely 1000% unacceptable on so many levels. So go out and vote, and hopefully we can get back to the America that I recognize of my youth at some point. All right, that'll do it for us today. Our thanks to Scott Reynolds and TJ Reeves, who joined us today. Great job, Nick. We will be back tomorrow with more fun and frivolity. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page, the JP Peterson Show, all of our social media, and download the app, FanStream Sports, all one word. You can listen to the show anytime, any place. Just tap that app and it'll start right up. And also Apple and Spotify on our podcast. Have a great day, everybody. Go Bolts.